88. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Islam Media with me, Mara Mukonda. Bipolar sufferers will usually have their first episode in their late teens or early 20s. For some women, though, giving birth will trigger their first bipolar episode. Planning to have a baby is very exciting, but it can also be quite daunting, particularly if you have bipolar disorder. If you want to get pregnant and have bipolar disorder, it's essential to plan ahead and talk to your doctor before you start trying. Joining me right now is Samantha Smirin, who is a bipolar coach and author of the book titled A Life Interrupted, a Bipolar Memoir. Here to tell us more. Good day, Samantha, and thank you for joining me.
It's a great pleasure, Miriam. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, quickly give us some background info. What is bipolar disorder and how is it identified?
Well, bipolar disorder is a mood disorder. In other words, a feeling and emotional disorder, a mood. So typically with a bipolar patient, they will go through periods of elevation and periods of depression. And the elevation in the extreme becomes mania, delusion, psychosis. And the depression becomes severe depression where it's quite immobilizing. So it's an illness of fluctuation of mood, but at certain junctures it becomes so severe that hospitalization is required. There are two types of bipolar. Bipolar 1, which is characterized by mania and depression, and bipolar 2, which is predominantly the depression side of the illness.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible for a patient to suffer from both bipolar 1 and 2?
Not that I know of, no.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, when it comes to pregnancy, your body changes, your hormones changes, your mood changes, etc. How does bipolar disorder affect pregnancy?
Well, it affects pregnancy in two ways. The first is, of course, the fetus, the baby, because the baby can be damaged by certain medications. If I'm correct in saying, I think lithium is one of the medications one can't take in the first trimester. So there's that for the bipolar patient to consider. In terms of their own experience of being pregnant, one may well need extra support in terms of so-called symptomatic treatment. So in situations of fluctuations of mood, just something to take the edge off. There are such, supporting medications available. But then also to have a pregnancy of self-care, and self-awareness and, respect to your own body. So many things come into play, but I certainly do feel it can be managed for a pregnant woman.
Mm-hmm. So is it possible for a pregnant woman, or a woman rather, who has bipolar to fall pregnant and, just go through the entire process, even post-pregnancy, without any problems or minimal problems?
You touch on an interesting point, and that is that people living with bipolar are normal people.
Mm-hmm.
They go through the normal things we all go through. They go through pregnancy and birth and life with children and, all different experiences in life. But oftentimes they are stigmatized as bipolar, as if that's all there is to them. The multitudinous nature of the personality is reduced to one being identified as an illness. So this can be very negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've heard how people make jokes about bipolar disorder, throwing it around as if it's something not serious or not to be taken serious of, like if you have mood swings and somebody will be like, what's wrong, are you bipolar or do you have bipolar? And it's not something that needs to be made a fun of. Now, when it comes back to pregnancy, when should a patient who has bipolar disorder plan their pregnancy? Should they plan it well in advance? Should they have a professional involved to take them through the process, etc.?
It's always good to have your healthcare workers around you supporting you. And I would definitely recommend a visit to a psychiatrist, either before falling pregnant or during the pregnancy, just indicating that you are going through with this pregnancy and you just need him to be aware of it or her to be aware of it. And, to check in and just have that possible, should you need the psychiatrist on board, then at least that contact has been made. And then in terms of your lifestyle, just ensuring that you have a good pregnancy, a stable pregnancy, a stable, early mother experience. So it just also takes a lot of resolve and determination from yourself as the patient.
And we also have to, or we can't forget the fact that, some women do have a postnatal depression.
Yes.
And, if you have bipolar, that too can be difficult to manage.
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely. And again, that's where the psychiatrist must be consulted in terms of what kind of medical support could be offered. I mean, I'm a true advocate for medication. So, there are people that feel that bipolar can be managed, without medication. But I myself, am certain there's enough proof and research and in my own life to support the fact that medication is critical in managing bipolar.
Now, as a bipolar coach, how would you help a woman in a situation like this, that she wants to fall pregnant or she's already pregnant and she has bipolar disorder?
Well, first of all, I would, work on boosting her self-esteem, so to speak, having a sense of, that she is, a woman at a beautiful junction, her life is strong and she's ready for it. I think the individual needs to prepare themselves and to feel certain in themselves. And then, I would set up a plan. We would set up appointment with psychiatrists. We would see maybe a psychologist. One could see an occupational therapist. There are many people that one could consult with. And then, of course, as the coach, to offer that support. So I'm that person that when my clients feel that they're falling into depression or they're slightly manic, they can check in with me and I'm there to hold that space for them. And oftentimes people just need to talk to someone, and most especially when you are not feeling well. It's very therapeutic to speak to someone, a professional who can hold that space for you. So, I hope that that's what I do offer my clients, as well as the techniques and the tools.
Earlier on, you mentioned that you are an advocate for medication, bipolar medication, but it could also affect the fetus. So is there a way to manage it while pregnant?
There are medications that one can take that don't affect the fetus. So myself, when I was pregnant, I went through my entire pregnancy on medication and my baby was perfect. So there certainly is different psychopharmacology out there, but that's why your psychiatrist must be consulted so that he or she can make any adjustments that need to be made.
Okay, and what are your final thoughts and advice going forward to the women out there who want to fall pregnant, yet, they're contemplating the fact because of bipolar disorder?
Well, I would say to them, you can do, in the fullness of being a woman, and acknowledging, yes, you have this diagnosis, but as a full human being with all these different things that make you up, you are this woman who can move forward into this pregnancy and to have certainty in that and to get the support that you need to bolster you at times of feeling doubtful. But certainly encouragement that this is possible and can be a beautiful journey in your life. There's no reason that you can't have a beautiful pregnancy.
That's so true. I mean, anybody should get a chance to fall pregnant, whether they have a bipolar disorder or any other disorder. But thank you so much for your time, Samantha, and for sharing that with us.
It's a great pleasure, Miriam. Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Samantha Smirin, a bipolar coach and author of the book titled A Life Interrupted, a Bipolar Memoir. A bipolar disorder does not mean that it's the end of the world for you if you are trying to fall pregnant and you have bipolar disorder. Like Samantha mentioned, speak to your psychiatrist and they can assist you with the types of medications that you can take that will not affect the fetus. And make sure that you have support, even if it's in a form of a support group. It doesn't always have to come from your family and friends, although it's even better if it comes from your family and friends. But if you don't get support from them, then always go to a support group. And there are many support groups available. If you just go to SADC, and they will provide you with all the information. And it is possible to manage bipolar disorder while you are pregnant. So it doesn't have to end there. You can still continue living your best life and fall pregnant and have children and continue, again, living your best life and raising your kids to the best of your ability. Just ensure that you speak to your doctor, your psychiatrist before or deciding, and make sure that you also plan in advance so that you know exactly where you are, where you're going, and what you want to achieve in this entire process. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mari Mukwanda.